Hello friends, my name is Rakesh Malav from Dr. Hari Singh Ghosh Central University, Sagar, Madhya Pradesh, and I submitted to my assignment Dr. Deeparijat, Assistant Professor in Department of Zoology. And here we discuss about lymphoid organs and primary lymphoid organs. Lymphoid organs. Lymphoid organs create a special immune cells have important role in immune system called lymphocytes. These lymphocytes fight against foreign pathogens and protect our body from infections. It has various functions in the development of lymphocytes. The origin, proliferation, and maturation of lymphocytes take place in lymphoid organs, and it is the site where maturation and interaction with foreign invaders take place. The maturations of lymphocytes are take in primary lymphoid organs, and interaction with foreign invaders take place in secondary lymphoid organs. After the maturations, these lymphocytes can flow with blood with circulatory system to catch foreign pathogens and destroy them. On the basis of their functions, these On the basis of their functions, these lymphoid organs are divided into two parts: primary lymphoid organs and secondary lymphoid organs. Primary lymphoid organs are where maturations of lymphocytes take place, and secondary lymphoid organs are where provide sites for mature lymphocytes to trap and interact against antigen and destroy them. Primary lymphoid organs are antigen independent, and secondary lymphoid organs are antigen dependent. Some of the examples: primary lymphoid organs are thymus and bone marrow. And examples of secondary lymphoid organs are lymph node, spleen. Spleen is act as blood filter of our body, and it destroys the abnormal RBC. So it is also known as graveyard of RBC. And Peyer's patches found in the ileum part of intestine, and malt is mucosa associated lymphoid tissue is found in mucous part of the stomach. Here we can see the some of the lymphoid organs, just like thymus is primary lymphoid organ is found in upper part of the heart, and bone marrow is found in the cavity of bone, and some of the spleen, lymph nodes, tonsils, Peyer's patches, etc. Let's discuss about the thymus. The origin of thymus is done by endoderm of embryo, and it is located upper chest region and beneath the breastbone and in front of the heart. It is triangular shaped structure and divided into two lobes, right lobe and left lobe. So it is bilobe structure, and these lobes all are surrounded by capsules and divided into small structures known as lobules. These lobules are separated by connective tissue, and the thymus is closely associated with the immune system than the endocrine system. So next, in this figure, we can see the structure of location of the thymus. Its right lobe and left lobe, and these lobules. And next, the lobules of thymus are divided into two parts: cortex and medulla. Cortex have densely packed thymocytes, and medulla have light packed thymocytes. The thymocytes are immature T cells. These thymocytes are immature T cells. When the lobules of thymus are stained, cortex stain dark and medulla stain light, and this staining process is done by hematoxylin. Hemato and this process is done by hematoxylin, and both of the part of lobus, cortex and medulla are contribute to mature and proliferate of thymocytes, which are immature T cells. And T cell does not produce antibody by themselves but help to B cells produce them, and these T cells are responsible for cell mediated immunity. Cell-mediated immunity is that in immune response antibodies does not involve, and we know in the cell-mediated immunity the T cell involved in T helper, T killer, T suppressor, and T memory cells. And next, the function of thymus. It releases thymosin hormone that stimulates the maturation of T cells, and it protects our body from infections. Some of T cells receptors are recognizing antigen recognizing MHC complex, and but most of the T cell receptors are antigen non recognizing complex. They could not recognize the presence of antigen. In these, some of the receptors are self-antigen react with self-antigen MHC complex. MHC complex is a mega histocompatibility complex and cause the autoimmune disease such as myasthenia gravis. In myasthenia gravis, the body feels weakness and fatigue, and it is due to the breakdown of communication between nerve and the muscles. And more than 95 thymocytes die after apoptosis in thymus before reaching maturity. The apoptosis is the programmed cell death. Now we discuss about the abnormality of the thymus or dysfunction of the thymus. After the thymectomy means cut the thymus, there will be so absence of cell mediated immunity means there will be no T helper cell, T killer cell, T suppressor cells, and T memory cell absence in the our immune system. And another defect is D George syndrome in human and the nude mice syndrome in mice. In D. George syndrome, it is the example of thymic hypoplasia. It is the example of the thymic hypoplasia. It is the example of the thymic hypoplasia means the decreasing in the function of thymus. And in this, some symptoms are look like poor immune system, low level of calcium in blood, and delay speech. Delay speech in child can be observed in D. George syndrome, and increasing in aging follows decline the thymic function as well as decrease in the immune function. And another disease due to the thymus abnormality is Graves' disease. In Graves' disease, when the immune system self-attack on the thymus, it will be observed in our body. And some of the symptoms look like the anxiety and tremor of the hand and the fingers can be observed in our body. Tremors means the vibration in our hand and body, hand and the fingers, as we can see in the old people. And next is the Down syndrome. Down syndrome is the example of the thymic hyperplasia. The thymic hyperplasia. It is the example of the thymic hyperplasia. And in this Down syndrome, it is the abnormality in the chromosome 21. It is also known as the trisomy of the 21 chromosome. And some of the symptoms are poor immune systems and delay in physical growth. And some of the physical symptoms look like round face, small fingers can be observed in the Down syndrome. Now we discuss about the second primary lymphoid organ, which is the bone marrow. The bone marrow is a soft, flexible, connective tissue present within the bone cavities, and it is the site of origin, proliferation, and the development of the B cells. And It is also the site of generation of all circulating bloods as RBC, WBC and the leukocytes. And there will be two types of the tissue present in our bone marrow. One is red bone marrow and another is yellow bone marrow. At early life stage, means at the childhood stage, the majority bone marrow is red. As the grow up, means child to teenage, adult, and the old persons, the red bone marrow is replaced by the yellow bone marrow, and bone marrow can generate 200 billion cells every day in our blood. And in this picture we can see the different type of the blood cells look like red blood cells, white blood cells and the platelets. White blood cells are different type, which is lymphocytes, monocyte, eosinophils, basophils and neutrophils. In in these, some of the play role in the immune system, some are the phagocytic, and some of the play role in the infections, etc. Now we discuss about the red bone marrow and the yellow bone marrow. It is the it is type of the bone marrow. The red bone marrow is formed by myelinoid tissue, where the yellow bone marrow is formed by the fatty tissue. The red bone marrow is hematopoiesis in nature and produce RBC, WBC and the platelets, whereas the yellow bone marrow is multipotent stromal tissue in the nature and produce fat, cartilage and bones in our body. And the red color of the red bone marrow is due to the hemoglobin, and the yellow color of yellow bone marrow is due to the carotenoids present in the yellow bone marrow. And the red bone marrow has the high vascular supply of the bloods and RBC, whereas the yellow bone marrow has the poor vascular supply of the RBC, mitochondria, etc. And the function of red bone marrow is remove old cells from our circulation, and whereas the yellow bone marrow can be converted to red bone marrow in the order to produce more blood cells when the supply becomes the poor. Now we discuss about the functions of the bone marrow. The primary function of the bone marrow is origin and the development of the B cells. Bone marrow also can generate RBC, which carry oxygen to the tissue from the lungs, and the bone marrow also can generate WBC, its other name is leukocytes, which have function in the removing of the dead cells and the remodel tissue and the bone, means reformation of the tissue and the bones. And it can also generate red plates, or it is also known as thrombocytes, which help in prevent to bleeding bleeding the blood in our body, and it is used aid in clotting of the blood. And the bone marrow also can provide microenvironment of the development of the stem cells. And next, the dysfunctions of the bone marrow or abnormality of the bone marrow. Due to the abnormality of bone marrow, some of the disease can be observed in our body, such as leukemia is commonly known as the blood cancer, and when the bone marrow not able to make RBC is known as the aplastic anemia, and when the production of the blood cells RBC, WBC and platelets can be affect production, it is known as the lymphoma. And next, thank you.